Hello, Internet. I'm Matt, and I'm by myself today on the Parallax Scrolling Podcast, where we give you our perspective on video games and the news that affects them. Monster is a little overloaded with work, so he's not going to be here today, so it's just us. I've had some pretty cool gaming experiences recently. I haven't had a whole lot of time to sit down and do too much, but I did start Monarch. I know I talked to you guys about that last time. And I'm playing it on my PlayStation. And it's actually kind of serendipitous that we're talking about it now with Monster not being here, because it reminds me of Persona, but I still like it. And that's a statement that Monster would probably give me a hard time for, but he can't because he's not here. Haha. But I do like it. I like the combat. I like the characters and the minion characters. So the story is about a guy who wakes up in the middle of a high school with no memory. He's found by his sister, apparently. At least she says so. And the student council's president and the school doctor. All three of them. And they find him and they take him back to the infirmary, and things get crazy. You start seeing other members of the student body, and they're all different. Like, their attitudes and their behaviors are very weird and alarming, like almost aggressive. And it turns out that the school is inside a barrier, and floors that are not safe have been filled with the mist. And the mist is where, if you go into it, people go crazy and they just stay there. But for some reason, you're the chosen one, because why not? And and you're able to go through the mist, and it doesn't affect you as severely as anyone else. And the people who journey with you, who go into parties with you, are blessed with that ability as well. And then you get phone calls on your cell phone, because your cell phone only works in random places. And when you answer the phone, you get transported to the other world where demons and monsters and things try to attack you. And that's when you transform and you have like a special weapon. It's called a magic gear, I think is what is the name. And you summon your fiendish minions who will fight beside you, and it's like a tactics game. It's really fun. I actually really like it. One of the neat things is the minion characters can be outfitted. Like, you give them gear, and the gear actually changes their appearance. But at the same time, you can also just change the appearance of the fiends. Like, give them a different face. You can give them hair, which is really weird because they all look like skeletons, but with hair now. You could give them, like, different voices, and you can change, like, how tall and how strong looking they are, or how weak looking. It's very in-depth. It's very cool. And I'm enjoying it. Haven't had a whole lot of time to touch that one recently, but I'm very excited to go back to it. I've also gone back to... I've been kind of doing this one off and on because it's so easy for me to do now. But been playing a robot named Fight. It's a really great roguelite Metroidvania. And it's actually got me thinking about something I'm going to get to in a minute. But I've also been playing another game called Aggelos. Aggelos. And it is a Metroidvania that is, which I didn't realize it was. I thought it was just like a platformer. But no, it's a Metroidvania, and it very strongly reminds me of the Wonder Boy games, both in art style and combat. That combat is very simple, which is still great. I ended up beating it last night. It's a really fun game. And story's pretty solid. And I think I beat it in under 7 hours, which normally for me, with a modern Metroidvania, I'm kind of like hesitant about that. But this one, it felt right. It felt like it was the right amount of time. Definitely like a beginner's Metroidvania, if anything, but still really fun and definitely worth your time. So check that out. Now, as I mentioned, back playing Robot Named Fight. It's a Metroidvania, and it's made me rethink the term Metroidvania. I had a very strict use of the term. Like, the games must behave X, Y, and Z, and if they do not follow A, B, and C, they are not considered Metroidvania by me. And so that's why I've been having trouble with my list that I've been talking about before. And I wanted to put it together, and I wanted to have something awesome, and I want to record it, and I want to do all these things. And truth is, I got so much going on in my life, it might be a bit more than I can chew. So I really need to rethink that still. But it also means I need to rethink what Metroidvanias really are. And honestly, I think I will put A Robot Named Fight on my list of top Metroidvanias because it's a really good game. And when I get that list out, hopefully I'll have it out soon. You guys will know about it. You guys can listen to it or watch it, however I decide to handle it. And you can agree or disagree with me in the comments down below. Like you could with this episode and any other episode. But yeah, so I'm still working at it. I know Tom has been asking in particular, so Tom, I'm still working at it. Don't lose hope. Don't give up on me yet. I'm not like certain other people, which is going to be a big... Should I just get that story? I think I should just get that story. Okay. So when Monster comes back, we're going to talk about Summer Games Fest, and we're going to talk about Xbox Game Showcase, among other things. Because it's something that we both need to talk about together, about what games we saw and what were really cool. But I'm going to talk about a news story that is important to me, probably not so important to him, and it has everything to do with what I've been talking about up to this point. Hollow Knight Silksong was supposed to showcase again at the Xbox Showcase. It was supposed to make another appearance, and it was supposed to have a release date. The day before, I don't even know if I can find it at the moment. I'd have trouble finding it on my phone. But the day before the Xbox Showcase, Team Cherry, or at least one of the leads of Team Cherry, came out and said, yeah, no, we're still working on it. We plan to have it out this time, but we don't. We're still developing it. And yeah, good luck with that. I'm paraphrasing. Keep that in mind. But still, it's not a good look. And if you've been on social medias, particularly Reddit, just stay out of the Reddit Silksong, whatever they call it, the subreddit. Yeah. Just stay out of that because everybody is mad. Everybody's mad. And I don't blame them. It's been too long. This game was first announced back in 2020, 2018 at the latest or oldest. And it's supposed to have been out by now. But it keeps getting pushed back because they keep working on it. And people are mad. And I think rightfully so. Not because it's like, oh, I really want this and I need to have it now. No, it's an issue of you've promised something and you have failed to come through with it. So you keep pushing off the due date, expecting everyone to still be excited about your game when it finally releases. And it's like people don't pay attention to history. Because there was another game. There's been plenty of other games that have done this too. But there's one game in particular that was notorious for this. And people still talk about it. And that's Duke Nukem Forever. You know, Duke Nukem Forever took, 10, 11 years to come out. And you know what happened in that 10 to 11 years? People's opinions of what was considered funny and stereotypical of how you treat people, those things changed. And so when Duke Nukem Forever finally came out, its audience was not interested. It did not do well. And I can't blame Duke. I can't blame his voice actor. It's the development team. They took too long. And I fear that is what's going to happen with Silksong. Silksong's going to come out at a point that when it finally does, people aren't going to care anymore. You've already angered your fan base. Majority of your fan base is upset with you, Team Cherry. I'm not. I'm upset, but I'm not angered. However, I do feel like you guys have had your product finished for a long time. And now what you're doing is you're just trying to polish it. And when I say polish it, I think you've come upon the idea of, ooh, let's add this, let's add this, let's add this. And if that's the case, you need to stop and just release the game. Take the ideas that you think of as you're building a game and save them for the next one. That's all you got to do. So we'll see. We'll see how things, play out. Hopefully, we'll see Silksong by next year. But it might be too late. And I'm just sad about that. I'm sad when a developer doesn't recognize their community and what's going on with them. But that actually gives me a good segue to talk about a different story, which is really kind of cool. So Shadow of the Erdtree is coming out here in just a few weeks. And the creator of Elden Ring, Hidetaka Miyazaki, almighty Miyazaki, has actually come out and said that it is a perfectly valid play style to play games with guides. Whether you're looking up something on the internet or you got a strategy guide book in hand, whatever. He says it's a perfectly valid playstyle for gaming. And what's even better, and here I'm actually gonna try and bring this up, is that he said, we obviously understand players use guides, but we don't make or plan anything with that as a prerequisite. If anything, we try to cater to the player who's completely blind and wants to go through organically. If they can't do it, then there's some room for improvement on our behalf, and we'd like to try to embrace those players more in the future. That is so awesome. That's such a cool thing. By the way, I got this information from IGN, reading that article, but I think that's so cool, is that he recognized, people play with guides all the time, and it's not cheating, it's not wrong, especially when you have access to the internet where everybody shares, hey, I got through this part of the game, this is how I did it, hey, what's the code for this, or how do you do this, and to be able to have that conversation. He understands that. But the fact that he's taking a bit of onus here and saying, no, we don't want you to be able to have to do that. We don't feel that should be necessary. And if you feel that it is, then we need to do something on our end to address that. That's really cool. That's such a cool thought. Of course use guides, use strategy, I used some with Eiyuden Chronicle, because there are some things that didn't make sense. It was like, I don't understand why I'm doing this particular attack and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Or I'm in this duel and I don't understand the way the fight's working. What's going on here? I looked up guides and they helped me understand what the game was about. Now, I didn't look up anything important. I chose not to look up anything that would spoil the game for me. But at the same time, I also looked up like, hey, what are all the cool like combo attacks? Because I think those are neat and I want to see what they do. And so I was able to look those up. And that's cool that Miyazaki recognizes that. And I appreciate the fact that he's just saying, hey, you should be able to play our games organically. And if you can't, then that's on us, not on you. And this is just one of the many reasons why I like Miyazaki. And I like his games. So, yes, I'm going to be playing Shadow of the Erdtree. Yes, I'm going to be playing whatever other From Software game he puts out because, the man's a genius. I even think about how it's an argument or a conversation for another time, but I think about how I know people who do not like the way the storytelling is done in FromSoft games, and I disagree with them, but I understand them. I think that you don't need to know every little bit of lore going into a FromSoft game. This is a personal opinion, editorial, whatever you want to put here, but that's what this is. You don't need to have all the lore to understand that game. The basics of any of those games is laid out for you every time. The extra stuff, that's just icing on the cake, baby. And the way you decide to play the game, the way you forge your character, like are they a strength-based, dex-based, spell-based, whatever, that shapes your story. And that's what those games do, and that's what I think is amazing. So we'll see what kind of story I make up with Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm kind of looking forward to that. But I'm glad to know that there's a developer who gets it. I just love it when the developers get it. It makes me happy. But yeah, not going to talk too much about the showcase or Games Fest or anything. I'll talk about one thing I'm excited for, and then I'm going to save the rest of it for when I should talk with Monster, because we are going to nerd out over some of it. But Alan Wake 2. Still have to play it. I'm going to play it. It's definitely one of those, I'm going to touch this eventually and it's going to be awesome. But when I heard in the announcements that they were getting a physical copy, that made me very happy. And then when they announced the Night Springs DLC, I kind of lost it. I was like a little kid, clapping my hands and smiling and laughing the entire time because I just knew that Jessie Fadden was going to make an appearance. And when I saw her finally show up in the trailer, I was so excited. I love what Remedy's doing with the Remedyverse and mixing their games in together. And that's just so cool. I love it. It's just an extra aspect of a game. And yeah, it's just oh, even now I'm thinking about how excited I am about it. But yeah, it's gonna be good times. I'm gonna be looking forward to actually getting together with Monster again so we can talk and put some of this stuff to put some of these hot topics to bed so we can talk about like what games we're excited for and things like that. But before I go, because I'm going to try and wrap up here soon, I have a community question I want to add on to all the other community questions, the ones that we're going to answer next time. So if you didn't think I responded to you today, it's because I didn't want to, because I like having Monster there when we talk about that stuff together. But here's an extra question for you. Ready? What is your opinion about limited time events in video games. Now, allow me to give you an example. Let's say you're playing some MMO, right? I'm going to make up one here. I'll use World of Warcraft, but I'll make up the event. So let's say you're playing World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft has the big Snowmageddon limited time event happening in game, and it's like from November 30th to like December 10th. It's like a short amount of time, and they're like, "Hey, complete all these quests and earn yourself some snow tokens, and then use those snow tokens to access the super mega snow dungeon where you fight the snow overlord and get some really, or have the possibility of getting some really epic gear at the end of it." But you only have so much time to collect those tokens, get in the dungeon, and hope you get the loot. That kind of thing. How do you feel about limited time events in video games? Now, I can think of plenty of other examples. I got some stuff like that with Monster Hunter now on my phone. I've got, plenty of other examples, again, with MMOs and other types of games. But how do you feel about that stuff? Let me know. I really want to hear from you. And if you made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing me out about how I feel about stuff and just how crazy the video game industry can be, but how awesome it can be at the same time. It's cool to know that there's like-minded individuals out there who kind of hear it all and appreciate it. And I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. So thank you so much. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic week. Have some awesome time playing your video games. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Oh, wait, that was his line. Later.